Hello, my dears. I'm glad to see you here again, in our cozy little corner. Tell me honestly, is this feeling familiar to you? It's evening. You've finally settled down comfortably with a book, or in front of the TV, the house has sunk into silence. And suddenly, a sharp, demanding ring of the telephone shatters this tranquility. Your heart skips a beat, doesn't it? Anxious thoughts immediately rush into your head. What happened? Who is it so late? It must be something bad. This sudden surge of adrenaline, when you've already settled in for rest, is not just a momentary inconvenience. It's real stress for our body, especially when we are no longer so young. Our adrenal glands release cortisol, the stress hormone, which prevents us from relaxing, disrupts the production of melatonin needed for sound sleep, and makes the brain work feverishly when it needs peace. And what exacerbates this problem? Our ingrained habit, reflexively grabbing the phone at any time of day, as if we are obliged to be available 24/7. This habit, like an annoying mosquito buzzing in a quiet room, deprives us of precious hours of evening serenity. But I promise you, by understanding why it's so important to protect your evening peace, and by hearing my story, you can regain control over your evenings, improve your sleep, and wake up with renewed energy. And it's simpler than it seems. So pour yourself a cup of tea, make yourselves comfortable, and let's have a heart-to-heart talk. Stay with me until the end, and you will find out what happened when I once broke my own golden rule. You know, I wasn't always so unavailable after 9 in the evening. Before, like many, I considered it my duty to answer any call. But over time, I realized one simple thing. The evening is my time. Time for recovery, for silence, for the body to calmly prepare for sleep. It's like a calm harbor after a stormy day of life's worries. Our body, especially at our age, vitally needs this reboot time. Imagine, all day your systems were working at full capacity, the brain solving problems, the heart pumping blood, muscles moving. And in the evening, they all need rest, a transition to a calm mode. A sharp ring is like a sudden alarm signal in a sleeping garrison. It instantly jolts you awake, releases adrenaline into the blood, raises blood pressure. Even if the news is good, the very fact of the unexpected intrusion disrupts this fragile process of preparing for sleep. I remember my neighbor, Martha. She was about 70. A lovely woman, but her phone never stopped ringing, even late in the evening. Her children, grandchildren, friends with some urgent, as it seemed to them, questions. And Martha always complained about poor sleep, about waking up exhausted, that her nerves were shot. She simply didn't give herself a chance to truly relax in the evening. So, my first and main piece of advice is, consciously create and protect your evening island of tranquility. This isn't selfishness, it's a necessity for your health and peace of mind. Think about it. Perhaps your evening peace is also worth protecting? The second important point is our subconscious mindset. A late call means trouble. You have to admit, that's a thing, isn't it? This goes back to the times when phones were only landlines, and people really only called late at night in emergencies. We, the older generation, remember this well, and this fear, this anxiety, they sit deep inside. Every time the phone rings after a certain cutoff hour, our imagination immediately paints the darkest pictures. We start running through scenarios in our head. What if something happened to the kids? What if with the grandkids, or with one of the old friends? This stream of anxious thoughts is in itself a huge stress, even if it turns out someone just called to chat or dialed the wrong number. It's like constantly living in anticipation of a blow. The body is tense, nerves are strung tight like violin strings. I realized that by not answering the phone late in the evening, unless of course I'm expecting a truly important and prearranged call, I spare myself this preliminary stress. I simply don't give this fear a chance to take hold of me. It's like locking the door firmly with a deadbolt at night. You know you're protected from uninvited guests, and you can sleep peacefully. My advice here is this. Acknowledge the existence of this bad news syndrome and consciously decide not to feed it. Remember, in 99% of cases, what seems urgent in the evening can perfectly well wait until morning. Isn't your peace of mind worth not rushing to the phone at the first demand of a late call? And now let's talk about the most important thing, sleep. Sleep, our faithful healer and restorer of strength. With age, good sleep becomes a real treasure. but how easily it can be scared away. Our sleep is a complex and delicate process, governed by internal clocks and hormones. In the evening, when it gets dark, the body begins to produce melatonin, the sleep hormone. It helps us relax, lowers body temperature, prepares us for rest. Any stress, any excitement, whether from an anxious call or even an overly emotional conversation, can disrupt this process. The release of cortisol and adrenaline blocks melatonin production. Imagine the fragile mechanism of an old clock. One wrong move, one jolt, and it can stop or start malfunctioning. Our sleep is exactly the same. Even if you fall asleep after a late conversation, the quality of sleep will likely be worse. It will be shallow, intermittent, won't bring real rest. And this is where I come to my story. There was one evening, a few years ago. I was already getting ready for bed. It was around 9:30. The phone was lying on the nightstand, on silent mode, as usual. But that evening, for some reason, I forgot to turn it off completely. I only silenced the sound. And suddenly the screen lit up. It was my nephew Tom calling. A nice guy, but a bit chaotic. And a thought flashed through my mind. What if it's something serious? He knows I don't usually answer this late. Something extraordinary must have happened. And I, breaking my own rule, answered the phone. My advice, stemming from this: treat your sleep like the greatest treasure and protect it from any evening invasions. Think about whether a momentary impulse to answer a call is worth a whole night of restless sleep and feeling wrecked in the morning. And what happened next, you ask? What was so urgent that my nephew Tom wanted? Oh, it was quite a drama, at least in his telling. It turned out he had quarreled with his girlfriend. Yes, seriously. At 9:30 in the evening, he urgently needed to vent, get advice, complain about female wiles, or perhaps better, relationship drama. He was agitated, spoke loudly, emotionally. I, of course, tried to calm him down, offered some advice, listened to his disjointed stories. The conversation lasted at least 20 minutes, and all this time, I felt my hard-earned evening calm slipping away. As if someone had thrown a stone into a quiet pond, ripples spread, and the silence was irrevocably broken. My brain, already tuned for rest, switched on to solve someone else's problem. My heart was pounding from the surprise and empathy. When I finally hung up, I was agitated. Instead of peace, a feeling of anxiety and some kind of internal restlessness. That problem, of course, wasn't worth the fuss and could easily have waited until morning, but the mechanism had already been set in motion. My body received the alert, signal, and falling asleep after that was incredibly difficult. It's like trying to sleep after riding a roller coaster. The ride is over, but you're still shaking. This experience clearly showed me, even if the reason for the call isn't tragic, the very act of disrupting evening peace and the emotional involvement can cost you healthy sleep. Always ask yourself, does this issue really require my immediate intervention right now, in the middle of the night? I felt the consequences of that night throughout the next day. I tossed and turned until almost 1 in the morning, trying to quiet my thoughts and calm my heartbeat. In the morning, I woke up with a heavy head, completely unrested. You know that feeling, when you seem to have slept, but you have no energy, your head is foggy, and all you want is to go back to bed. That was it. All day I felt drained, irritable. Coffee didn't help. Everyday tasks were difficult. I thought, and for what? To listen to a 20-minute tirade about a quarrel that would likely be forgotten by morning? I paid for breaking my rule with a whole day of feeling unwell and lost productivity. It's like taking out a high-interest loan from your own health. A momentary action results in long-lasting consequences. Compare this to a typical morning when I wake up after a peaceful night because no one disturbed me in the evening. I feel refreshed, full of energy, ready for the new day. The difference is colossal. This incident strengthened my resolve once and for all. My advice, based on this bitter experience, value your morning well-being and remember that it directly depends on the quality of your evening rest. Think about the energy and good mood you are stealing from your future self by answering non-urgent late calls today. And the last, but very important aspect, how to explain your rule to loved ones so they don't get offended. Because sometimes relatives might think you are ignoring them or that you don't care about them. Tact and honesty are important here. I simply calmly explained to my children and close friends, my dears, I love you very much and am always ready to help. But after 9 in the evening, my phone rests along with me. This is my time to restore my strength so that tomorrow I can be energetic and helpful, including for you. If something truly urgent happens, you know how to reach me, e.g., call several times in a row. That can be a prearranged signal for a real emergency, or there are other ways for extreme necessity. But for all other matters, let's communicate during the daytime. At first, my daughter Sarah was a little surprised, but when I explained it wasn't a whim, but about taking care of my health and sleep quality, she understood and accepted it. It's important to convey that this isn't a wall you're building between yourself and the world, but rather like a fence around your garden. It protects your personal space needed for flourishing, but the gate is always open for loved ones at reasonable times. It's a matter of self-respect and self-care. Establishing such boundaries is not a sign of callousness, but a sign of wisdom and understanding your own needs. My final advice: don't be afraid to set healthy boundaries and gently but firmly communicate them to your loved ones. Your right to rest and peace is just as important as your desire to be there for them. So that's the story, my dears. A story about a small rule that helps me preserve a great treasure, my evening tranquility and healthy sleep. Perhaps my experience will seem familiar to you, or maybe it will give you some food for thought. Remember, you have lived a long, full life. You possess wisdom and experience, and you, more than anyone, deserve peace and respect for your needs. You have every right for your evening to belong only to you, so you can restore your strength and meet the new day with a smile, not fatigue. Don't be afraid to take care of yourself, listen to your body, and establish the rules that help you feel better. You deserve it. Take care of yourselves, your peace, and your sleep. Until next time.